Welcome to part 2 of my advanced automatic wheat harvesting system, where in this one, I'll be showing you how to make Zom 13's water gate. We'll be making this beautiful structure right back here, which does exactly what we want it to do. Flip a switch, water goes on, flip a switch, water goes off. Without any more ado, let's get right into it. A water gate consists of three major components: a lower sand dispenser, which releases the water, an upper sand dispenser, which stops the water, and all the redstone wiring beneath that. For our first sand dispenser, we're going to start up here by our water splitter. We're going to face away from the fields, because this is where the water gate's going to go. It's pretty advisable to bring an extra crafting table up here, because you might have problems placing boats, and you don't want to have to run back to a crafting table every time you want to make a new boat because you broke one. Our first sand dispenser is going to be pretty difficult to find exactly where to place. I'm going to tell you exactly where I think we should go. So to start off, we're going to stand one step to the right of our water hole, and we're going to go a block down. Now we're going to build 5 over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 deep. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to go 7 in that direction. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, now we're going to move a total of 2 forward. So this is starting with 1, 2. We're going to fill in from here all the way over. 1. Now going back over to here, we're going to leave 1 space on that side. I'll do it again. Now I'm going to jump up to here real quick and build this back to that spot right there. And everything in here needs to be filled up. Okay. Now I'm going to go 3 deep here. 1, 2, 3. And after the 3 deep, I'm going to place a block here, block here. I'm going to poke our head up here just a bit to block there. Block here, and then go 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And back here we're going to put 1 on each side. This is a total of 3 wide. We're going to make these 3 by 3, so there's just this tiny little 3 by 3 chunk sticking out in the middle of nowhere there. Alright, and this is the basic layout of how water system works. Now, next part is we're going to have to build spot 1 lower here, so I'm just going to like this, and right where I just placed this actually. Needs to be a lower block here, and needs to be 2 of them right here. So I'll just use gravel to make the building process a little easier. And do the same thing right there. We have these 3 indented holes here. What you need to do with these holes is we're going to put 3 doors in them. Right. You have to place them in this particular fashion. Standing right here, in this little outcrop, looking this direction, walk over the edge, look straight down at the block, and place it. And it should look like this, and open to the side like that. I'm going to do the same thing right here. You want to do the same thing right here. This one's most important because this door is actually going to move. You want it so that it faces this direction and this direction, no other directions. Okay, next step, get more of this cobblestone or whatever material you're using. I would advise against dirt just because I've heard cases of squids maybe spawning in your water flow. That'd be good. But we're just going to make this little marked off channel, 3 wide, 3 tall, 3 wide, with 2 spots in the middle here. Next thing we're going to do is come here to the edge, take 2 pressure plates, and just after this door we're going to place a pressure plate, and kitty corner to this hole, and that pressure plate, we're going to add another pressure plate, like so. Alright, now, from this pressure plate we just placed, move forward one, and then just past it, put a block. Put one on either side of that, so it's 3 wide. Go past it and just make it twice as long. So it's a 3x2 block, just sitting out here in the middle of nowhere. Okay, now go back over here and place any kind of temporary block you want. Dirt, wool, gravel. Place it here so you can just get a piece of glass resting up here. Then we just want to build this little roof, I guess, over the top of all this till you get to right here. Right. Now we're going to be placing some boats. So we're going to place it right here on that block. We'll place one boat there. We'll place another boat right here on this block. Alright, and one more block boat right here. Best way to place this is to stand on this piece of glass here, look straight down, and place. Look at that. Now, you're going to place in the water. This is the moment of truth. If this works, it's good. We're going to place the water in this little hole right here where the boat is. Try to place it as high up as you can so you don't accidentally sit in the boat, because you don't want this boat to be moving. So place some water. There we go. This boat here is going to start nudging that boat into the wall until it sets into a nice little pattern here. And there we go. That's the pattern right there. 5 little mini bounces, followed by 2 long bounces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. That's the pattern you need to see. If you put your boats in, and you put the water in, and it starts doing that, then you know that your boats are going to be good. Just do not bump them. Now, while you're building the rest of this, do not bump these boats. If you give it just the slightest bump, they'll just keep bumping themselves more and more out of line until your whole system is trashed and you have to put the boats back in. So from now on, don't touch these boats. Our next step is we're going to make a ring around the outside here, like this. Now we're going to position the gravel over the boat to be used in our dispensing unit. Start off, we're going to place a chunk of rock here and a chunk of rock here, either side of this giant hole we have right down there. And over this giant hole is where our gravel is going to rest, just like this. Now the next thing to do is to build a little cage right here. I like using glass, it's not necessary. I like looking at the liquid that's going to be held right in here. Remember, do not fall down and accidentally bump any of these things, boats. And right here is where the liquid's going to go. Now we're going to come over this way, build this up a bit here, like this. And another one here, and another one there. We gotta next put down some redstone stuff. Start off, we have a torch here, feeding power into that repeater. I like using repeater, they look pretty. And it's going to put power into this block, which is going to tell if this block is actually here or if it's gone, which is our indicator light. Not our indicator light, it's our sand level indicator that says is there sand here or not, whether to make this water flow or not. And after that we just keep putting stuff out here, and we'll just let this dead end for now. We'll have to connect it up later. And we also want to wire this door up. Same thing, we're just going to have it go out here till it just sort of stops. Right. Now that we've got all that, I'm just going to go over here. Now, a quick test. To test your dispenser, put a torch down for 5 seconds, then pick it up. And in that window, one piece of gravel or sand should fall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Flows just perfectly. And look at that. And just as we wanted, this turned off. And if you have problems with the water washing away your redstone here, then you need to look at how long your water channel is. Because from the gravel, it cannot be longer than just one extra block. If there's a block right here, then it washes everything out, as you can tell. We can't have that block there. It has to stop. It has to start dropping right here. Now we have our first sand dispenser that releases the water. What we need now is another sand dispenser above this one, which will drop a piece of gravel right out here to stop the flow of water. It needs to be exactly like this one here. So for our new one, it's going to be completely lined up with this old one. Right here we have our door with a block which is one of the lowest blocks on the build for the sand dispenser. We're going to have the same thing right above it. I like building with a little extra space so you can walk around and do maintenance fixes. So I'm going to build it with this one little block buffer. And this is where that lower door is going to go. Now we just build up all around it and build that floor pattern we did with the very first sand dispenser. Like so. We're going to start off by building these low areas for the doors. They're a little tricky to build lower than yourself on elevation, but once you get that done, you're pretty good. Leave a hole right here for the gravel to fall through and block the water. And after that, you just fill in all the gaps. It really helps if you just look straight down and you can figure out how far you have to go over instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just make sure that you compare it with how it should look at the end. Make sure you don't have any problems. And just like before, it should look like this. Room for 2 doors on this side, 1 door here, a hole for the gravel. And you can build it right there. It probably helps you to walk around the edge too. Alright, now that that's done, just do exactly what we did for the other sand dispenser. So as soon as you get to the point where you can mark off this gravel and you can put it in, that's as far as you need to go. And this gravel pillar is just going to be as high as you want. The more gravel you put in there, the longer you can go between having to put more gravel in and refilling it. Now we just have to wire this up and this one will be ready to go. So like before, we wire up that door. This time, instead of wiring up that detector like we did right there, we're actually going to do something almost in reverse. What we're going to do is put the power that goes into this direction, that block. The reason we want to do this is that we want to make sure that when this boat moves, this gravel knows to drop. Sometimes it gets stuck in the air. If you have redstone power being applied to it, it updates the block, making sure it knows to fall down. There's one more bit we need to add to our bottom sand dispenser here. that's going to be a path of redstone jutting off from this path. It's going to go and wrap around the backside and connect right over here. That will update this sand or gravel to make sure that it falls when it needs to. So to do that, we're just going to go from right here and build out a little extra bit of a lip, like so. Then we're going to go all the way over this edge, and we're going to extend it by 1. Have it go all the way around here. What we need to do next is chop that block off and make it one lower, like so. Now to wire it up, go back here, place a piece of redstone. We're going to need a repeater in here, so plop the redstone wire around. I like putting an inverter here. I'm not sure that it's necessary, but it seems to always work with it, and I don't want to pretty much risk it right now. So, and this repeater here, it's really important to have a repeater and not a piece of redstone. If you have just a piece of redstone, it messes with the door downstairs and it messes with this torch. We don't want that. So if you have a repeater, it keeps this whole pathway right here isolated. Then lastly, we put a piece of redstone right there. This just means that when that door gets activated, that redstone is going to continue around here and change the state of this piece, or pieces, from on to off, which will update this whole area, updating the sand and gravel, allowing it to drop. So we just combine both of these redstone paths into one, so that when power comes up here, both updates and opens the door. And now this is ready. And now on to the ever so fun wiring part, the redstone part.
Hooray!
Now let's start to work underneath all the sand dispensers, so we can start hooking up all the wiring and make it actually do something. So to start off, we're going to walk right under where the gravel falls. And you just need to place a torch here. What this does is, when the gravel falls down, it's going to hit the torch, and because it can't be where the torch is, it's going to turn into just a floating block. This way, it doesn't get backed up and, pretty much clog your system. And now, before we begin, I'm going to just level out this land out here in the back. Now that I have this all leveled and cleared off, we're going to start by connecting these leading edges we left up here and connecting them to our floor level here. This torch here is the leading edge that connects to the door to our first sand dispenser, and this one is the second one. I actually moved this one over from the video one to have it line up better. So in case you're wondering why it doesn't line up, that would be why. This torch here is just the detector that pretty much tells us whether water is flowing or not by whether there's a piece of gravel blocking the flow. So we're going to connect all these up. Before we do all that though, we're going to find the block between these two connectors, leading edges, right here, and right in front of this block, right here, we're going to start building a pillar, like so, just all the way up to the top. This will be like a little access shaft, so we go all the way up to here. And once that pillar is done, we just go up and we're going to put ladders all the way up to the top. So you can climb all the way up here, do any work you need to do between the different levels and stuff. Next step is to make long upwards wires pretty much for these two edges. So start off placing blocks here underneath both these torches, and we put redstone torch. Then we go up, hold shift to stay up on the ladders, put new blocks on top of those torches, put more torches, put more blocks, more torches. And this one, now that we're at the right level on this one, in fact I'll just put this here so we can walk off. Alright, so I was wrong when I said that this was high enough. You're actually going to need this to be one bit higher, these torch level, so that it's off. And before we do that, let's just disconnect this just in case. Yeah, see, that turns on. That's not good. Alright, so we have that torch there. It's off just how we want it. Now, got to keep making this one go up though, until it reaches its sand dispenser. And there we go. Now we don't want to actually connect these yet, that would not be good. We'd make the boats and stuff all start wigging out. But what we want though, is we want the top torch to be off. So this one's off, so it's okay. So we can actually, now that we know it's off, just connect these up, and it's ready. But actually, just for safety's sake, don't do that yet. Just make sure it's in a position to be ready. Now this one's going to be a little more annoying, because while you can make power go up a column real easy, it doesn't go down very easily. You have to pretty much make a winding staircase of redstone. So to start off with, just chop that bit off. And you know what? Let's start from the bottom, work our way up. What we want is to have this 4 spaces away from this block here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where we want it to come out of, is right here. So let's just start right there. I'm just going to use dirt as filler bits to get it at the appropriate heights. And I'm hoping this lines up. Good enough. Now, you might need a repeater right here, so let's just throw one of those in. Let me just make this go all the way down here until it comes out over here. Well, let's just leave it like that for now. Alright. Now we have all the wiring set up to connect to all the circuitry we're going to put right back in this section. For the redstone circuitry, before we start, make sure that none of your columns here are actually connected to your boat switches or the door switches, because you might, actually you definitely will have a little bit of pulses, some fluctuations in the redstone while you're setting it up, but you don't want to cause stuff to cause havoc in there until we're all ready. First thing we're going to do now is we're going to set up our 2 pulses. I've actually gone through, and everywhere we're going to need to put a block. I have just marked out with some wool to make it easier for me, and hopefully a little easier for you. Right. So the main premise on how this works is that when you pull the switch, depending on if there's water or not, or if water flowing or not, which is what this thing's for, is to tell us if there's a block blocking the water or not. So depending on whether it's flowing or not, whether to send a pulse up this column or this column. And this is how the pulses work. First, let's put a torch on each one of these, and then on each one of these. Now what we do is, from this torch, it's going to split off 2 ways. First way is right here. Because there's 2 repeaters, it's a little slower than just straight redstone. The second one is this path of redstone here, which has no delay because it's straight redstone. And then off of here, they'll just recombine. And if you, as you notice, these are always in alternate states. If that one's on, it causes, or if this redstone path is on, this torch is going to be off. And, let me show you. Oh, actually, it pulses right there. Let me show you that. See that? Pulse. Right, so how that works is that when you turn power off of that, this will lose power, but at the same time, because that loses power, the delay of these eventually losing power causes this to light back up. So even though this path loses power, half a second after that one loses power, this one gains power, and so this still has power. So that's how you get a quick pulse. Now we're going to do that same pulse setup for the other column. So it's going to be slightly different though, but still it's the same premise. These both go out this way, and they still both combine here. But instead of going to this block, of course, it's going to go to this block, which isn't there yet. But just hang with me. Now, this is where these two blocks here are going to be so that we can have this indicator here determine if it's on or off, or if the water's flowing or not. So, first things first is we connect this to this block. And we put a torch here. And then this torch is the one that connects into this column. So what this says is if this path is off, which means that water is flowing, then when this pulses, that'll pulse off, this will be off, so for a split second it'll allow this to turn on. That pulse will go all the way up to the doors, flick them off and on. And it has the same thing, it's going to happen right over here, except for the other door. And we take this right here, we just lead it all the way over here. Now because this is the other door and it's going to be opposite, we want this one to do the opposite of what that door does, depending on whether its water is flowing or not. We invert it. We do the same thing, we bring it over here, and then this torch feeds into this column, like so. And now, to make sure that they're both not always on at the same time, what we do is we take this very first one here, we just feed it directly into that one. This allows them to have alternate states, as you can see, off or on, off. And then we just wire up. This wire over here is gonna lead all the way back to our switch. Boop, 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 boop. Wherever we put our lever, way back over there in our control room. Now the very last thing you need to do before testing this is to set all these repeaters to the last notch. Like so. Otherwise, it pulls too fast and the door does not stay open long enough for the boat to do any good. Alright, so now we're going to test it. When I put this torch here and turn this wire on, that column right there should blink and the gravel's going to fall, water's going to flow. That's the plan. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop. And there's the water. Excellent. Now, the opposite should happen when I take this off. That column right there should blink on the left, and you're going to see a piece of gravel drop right there. Let's take it off right here, and boop, boop, boop. And a piece of gravel drops. And water goes away. And there you have your very own water gate system. Now you can snazz it up a little by adding indicator lights and overrides and other fun stuff, but basically this is all you have to make it work. You just take this leading edge here, you can wire it underground preferably, all the way back here to your control center, so that when you flip that lever there, the water turns on and off. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for watching my tutorial. It's been really nice of you. I'm sorry it's been taking so long, but I finally got out here, and thanks for all your support and pushing me along. That was great. If you're new, Feel free to subscribe or like or anything you want. I love doing this, and I love doing it more when I have somebody to show it to, so that is awesome. This is just the basics of how it works. It looks sort of ugly at the moment. It doesn't do very much besides, water on and off. I'll be doing another one eventually that has indicator lights, override switches, all the good stuff, and I'll probably just cover this in some nice pretty tower or something because this is just butt ugly to look at. But thank you guys for watching. It's been really great, and now I'll actually go off and start playing the next patch. See ya!